way you fish shadows, I don't know if you guys are delta rats or know anything about titles. You could fish shadows the same as tides, and I call them shadow tides. Incoming shadows, incoming tides are better than outgoing because it pinches fish into the funnel. So I mean, I'll watch the shadow line come over here to get that big, and I'll catch 10s out of it. But growing tides, growing shadows, they're harder because fish actually start to separate and expand. So there's different edges. Sometimes you get expanding ones, and I'll fish, you could fish out 60 foot on one edge and fish the bank on the other. So, but I mean, when I'm on it, it's done. You're creating an environment of like suspended animation. It's a nothing. There's really not a lot of movement. Even though you see the bobber popping up and down, I do that. There's enough friction on the line. The bobber's coming forward. That bait's might only coming back maybe 2 or 3 inches, and it does a pendulum. It does a little sawtooth underwater. When I go pop, 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 I let it sit still. Pop, 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 I let it sit still. So that movement is so minute. It's not like you're doing big rips on it. It's not like you're, you know, the most aggressiveness that you're going to get out of this is the drop once you hit the water. But when you create that suspended animation, you usually dictate that to the fish on how they eat it too. Because you'll throw it out and it's so still, it's not like a fish is going to rush up there and grab it. They come out in the wintertime, they're coming up out of 40 foot of water, super slow, taking their time. They're saying, okay, I'm at 40, I see the bait up there at 12 foot, maybe I'll go to 30, the bait's still there, maybe I'll come up to 20, bait's still there. If I get up to the bait, I'll eat it. And that's how slow those fish will come up, ascend to the bait, and once they get to the bait and they see it, they grab it and they descend the same way. It's not like they do this once they get to it. You can see that the way the structure itself is laid out, you can see an in-turn right here, a cup, where that's actually a funnel. You look out here a little bit further out in the point, there's a point out there. The fish will run those shadow edges the same exact way they do against this bank. The problem is some of this depth out here is 40, 50, 60 foot of water. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this bobber off. Now they're keyed in on bait. And here's what people have the hardest thing to do is trying to think out of the box like this. Biggest thing is I'm going to retie, because on any cast I can catch a 10-pound largemouth or a 30-pound striper on the same bait. But what we're going to do is we're going to throw the same fat fly. We're going to take a bobber off, and I'll show you a little technique called a do nothing. And man, this has produced huge limits. This really excels up in places like Shasta, Oroville, any lake that has spotted bass, Havasu, Lake Mead. You don't need a bobber. You just need patience to let it go down in the water column. You let it hit the bottom, you pop it once just to make it true, make sure it's running true. And you pretty much do nothing. You just kind of just bring it in nice and steady. You don't wiggle it, you don't jiggle it. You just wait for your rod to load up. But the key thing that I do is I still fish structure and cover. You know, I really pay attention to the details on that. So we're gonna suck right in against these walls in about 5 foot of water. We're gonna throw out to 50 foot of water. It's gonna take a good minute or two for this bait to hit the bottom. And then we're gonna bring it up, see what happens. That takes patience. Went down there, my line's slack. I know it's on the bottom. Pop it once. Usually I put the rod tip down and I just bring it in nice and steady, just like a little bait fish down there, just kind of coming uphill. And usually when you get up onto the little lip, you know, a little break line in 20, 30 foot of water, a lot of times that rod just kind of just loads up. And when you get on this bite, this is where you can really start loading the boat quick. You just got to make sure you keep pulling the fish into you. If you turn around and pull them out to open water, you're done. You're only going to get one fish to go. So I'm actually throwing out in the sun right there, but 5 foot in front of me is my secondary shoreline. That's the soft structure. If I was going to get bit, it would be right against that shadow edge down there. You can see the pocket, and then you're going to actually have an outside point out there. That's in 80 foot of water. That spot right there in top water would be the best spot to throw topwater bait against that shadow, the soft structure, and still catch a fish out in 80 foot of water. A lot of people just don't open their eyes. There's, like I said, there's a lot going on, but they don't pay attention to a lot of the other stuff. It's like a little striper. Oh, a little largemouth. I know the sun's bad right now. A lot of little fish around here too, but